Maybe, since we're still waiting on one person, we could take the opportunity to just introduce ourselves briefly, because we didn't get a chance to do that last time. So you can just say your name and what area of the college you work in, and maybe just how long you've been with Peralta. Just interesting. So I'll start. I'm Hillary Altman. I've been a faculty in communication and chair of communication since 2002 at Merritt College. And what else? I'll leave it at that, and we can move on. Laura, I'm going to call on you next. You have to unmute though.
Got it. Thank you. I'm Laura Forlin, and I am the co-chair of Landscape Hort. And I've been at Merritt since 2012.
Great.
Thank you.
Arya, you look ready to talk.
Yeah, sorry, my background's all, I'm in the back of the house where we have the lowest Wi-Fi, so I turn off my video just so that I get a more stable connection. So I'm sorry if I cut out and put my video down. But I've been at Merritt College since 2003. I've been department chair of the biology and chemistry department until just last year. So it was like 10 years that I was department chair. So this is my first time not being chair of anything for a while. And so I've been just teaching biology. That's what I do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I see we just got Denise Woodward, so we now have a quorum. So I'm going to call to order at 12:07. But we're going to keep going. We're just doing short introductions. Denise, just your name and how long you've been in Peralta and what area you work in. Dan.
Are we on me now?
We're on you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think we were doing Denise. Hi, my name's Dan Lawson. I've been at Merritt since 2014, and I'm co-chair of the Math and Physical Sciences Department and vice president of the Academic Senate and chair of the
IPC.
IEC, yeah, the Institutional Effectiveness Committee. And I'm the faculty lead for the accreditation effort. And
so you're bored to death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm so glad yesterday I was in a meeting with the CPI Richardson, and she said something that I had been thinking is like, how can anybody get any work done going to all of these meetings? Like, there's people going to more meetings more than I am going to meetings. How do they possibly get anything done? And so she said that she's not, so or she's staying up till 2 in the morning to do it. So,
right. Yeah. Well, thank you all for making time to be here today. Courtney.
Courtney Brown. I've been with Peralta since about 2015. Currently co-chair of Business and Technology, and serving on the Merritt Technology Committee, hoping to make working conditions better for all of us because technology is so much a part of education right now.
Thank you. Adoria.
Hi, good morning, or afternoon. I'm Adoria Williams. I'm co-chair of the library department, and I'm just sitting in trying to stay abreast of all the information because my partner Neem is knee deep in it. So I just want to know where you guys are.
Thanks, Adoria. Speaking of Neem, you're up, buddy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Neem Tai, and I have been working in the library since 2006. Yeah, and you guys know everything else.
If you don't know, Neem's chair of curriculum committee, writing our ICER report, and involved in many, many things. So thank you. Lillian. Oh, you take yourself off mute, Lillian. Thank you. Great.
Hi, I'm Lillian Tyers. I work in Merritt Business Office, and I've been there since August 2019. I was previously at the district. I started there in March of 2015.
Thank you so much. So we love having Lillian because she's got some district knowledge as well. It's so great. Denise. Denise Woodward, are you? There you go. Yeah.
Okay, I'm driving, but My name is Denise Woodward. I have been at Merritt for almost 10 years. I started off in student services, and I came to liberal arts and social sciences. Well, back then it was a different name, but Division I in 2011. And so that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Marie.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Marie Amboy. I'm the Dean of Allied Health and Public Safety at Merritt. Came on board about 10 days before we shut down in March. And, but I've been at the district prior to coming here to Merritt. I was actually at the district office for almost 3 years as the Director of Strong Workforce and CE program. So I had a chance to work with a lot of our CE faculty already for quite some time, which has made my transition actually pretty smooth. So thank you.
Awesome. And Stephanie, we're just doing brief introductions, name, how long you've been at Peralta, and what area you work in or were familiar with.
That's directed to me?
You're the last one.
I'm the last one. All right. Well, impeccable timing then.
But not least.
So I'm working now as the consultant for Merritt College, assisting them with all things accreditation. But for those that are on the line that don't know my history, I'm a Peralta baby, born and raised in college alum, etc. But worked for 9 years in the president's office prior to transitioning to Berkeley City for 2 years as project manager of their basic skills grants, and then inevitably leaving Peralta and coming back as a consultant for Merritt.
Yes, and now Riley's in training. Okay.
Yes, right.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you making time to be in this committee and to make this time that we have together really effective. So I'm going to share my screen so we can look at the agenda, and please let me know if you have any changes, amendments, anything you want to add, and we can do that. Anybody have anything? Does it look okay? Okay.
Looks okay to me. Looks okay to me.
Okay. Is there any objection to approving the agenda as it appears? No? Fantastic. Let's move on to look at the minutes. I don't know if you guys took the opportunity to look at the minutes already from last meeting. I know this is small. I can make it bigger, but it'll just take longer to scroll. I assure you that I did actually watch the Zoom. Try to make it as accurate as possible without doing, more than 3 pages. But actually, I was wondering, make sure I have everybody accurately in there because there is no Education Master Plan Committee, so that has to get fixed. And then, Dan, instead of, well, there's the ISER coordinator, and you would also be chair of institutional effectiveness, or would that be somebody else?
I'm both.
You're both, so we really only need one.
By the way, I am not the ISER coordinator. That is not an existing title.
Okay, then we will put you as chair of institutional effectiveness committee. Okay.
And by the way, one thing I noticed when you were scrolling through the minutes there, which I don't mind, but I've had, when I was taking minutes for the Academic Senate, I've had other people object to putting specific names next to comments in the discussions. So it doesn't matter to me, but people have told me when I was taking minutes not to do that.
Huh. How do y'all feel about that? I've never heard that before.
I will share that in my.
Say that again, Dan. I didn't quite get what you were saying.
Dan was...
Well, Stephanie could probably state it better than I can because she was about to say her understanding of it.
Yeah, I found in the 9 years that I was taking minutes for the College Council that it was easier to refrain from mentioning names unless it was the specific party to which was giving a report out on the topic. So if on the agenda someone was identified to give the review or the presentation, and you could indicate, you know, X gave the following. But oftentimes I found that if you were very specific with saying, you know, this party stated X, if it wasn't specified to the exact language, or even if it was, they don't always recall exactly how it's being said. And so they don't like to be, you know, recorded on record for having stated it in the capacity to which it might have been. So I often found that refraining from identifying names was helpful, just so that minutes didn't get picked apart.
Interesting. So I'm happy to, I could go to initials, or I could just take them out. It doesn't matter to me. I was just trying to be accurate. And again, I went back and listened to the Zoom to make sure it was accurate, but should we?
I mean, it seems, can I just say something?
Yes, please,
I
of
feel like
course.
it seems to me that I understand this sentiment about trying to do that, I guess, just to avoid conflict, but it makes it harder after the fact to try to track people down who might have institutional memory. And so you might have a vague recollection in a meeting, oh, so-and-so mentioned that, like, this is the way we used to do it, but then you don't remember who the person was because you go back into the minutes and you can't find it. I feel like that doesn't really help. I mean, it doesn't really help the committee. It helps individuals kind of hide behind a screen, right? If they have an unpopular opinion, I don't know, I guess people could individually say, I would prefer not to have this be on the record, but I just don't see why. If you're going to risk it in a meeting and you want to fight over something or put a motion together, your name should be attached to that. That's my opinion anyway.
Okay. And Marie has, you know, chatted that we're in a different place with Zoom recordings, so we can go back and verify. So why don't we vote? So let's make, I guess I should make a motion. I move that we, can we vote on 3 separate issues kind of thing, or do I have to make a motion of one of them?
You can split them apart as you do it.
I can collectively do it, Stephanie?
If you're, go ahead, Courtney.
You have discretion. You can pull them apart if they are not necessarily consonant with the intention of the motion. Mm-hmm. And you can keep things that might just be contentious separate in their own motion. For clarity, it's usually good to have a motion be as concise and specific as possible.
Okay. How about this? Well, I was going to ask if people would prefer full names, initials, or no names. I'm going to move that we do initials. Is that okay? So it is okay because I'm going to move, and then you can vote on it. So I move that we use initials in the future to represent people who speak at the meeting. And so we have to go with our voting people. Yes, Courtney.
One important question. Which is according to
information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
According to Robert's rules, it's better not to personalize discussions or specific individuals because you want to get a sense of deliberation of the body and have as many ideas introduced as possible. So it really is how we choose to conduct this. And knowing that via Zoom, we can get a transcript, I'm not sure that the body itself would need to be as specific in how minutes are taken and how statements are attributed.
So are you saying we don't need to vote?
You don't need to make it an issue.
Okay.
Because it's already covered by the governance that we adopted, which is Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay. Well, let me ask this, Dan. Do you feel strongly about not including names before we move on?
No, I don't. As I said before, I don't care. I was just saying that, like, people have told me that before, and so I was raising that because, like, I had to go back and re-edit all my minutes when I took them the first time because I was keeping track of who said what.
Okay.
And then I had to go back and, like, take all those out.
Okay.
But yeah, so it does not matter to me.
Okay. Is there anyone here that feels strongly about having names or initials attached to what has been said. You speak now or forever, not forever. Hold your peace for the rest of the meeting. Okay, great. So let's go back to the minutes.
You have a motion. You have a motion on the table, so it must be.
I retract the motion because it wasn't seconded anyway. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me straight, Courtney. I appreciate it. Okay. Is everybody okay if I keep going down? That's. And by the way, with the action plans, I did follow up with people, so that's part of today. Okay. Any, sorry, go ahead.
One point of clarity is that Dan is actually co-chair of the IEC. So when you wrote chair of IEC, he's co-chair with Nathan of IEC.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. Any other corrections, amendments, changes, disagreements?
Yes, in follow-up follow-up actions for the agenda and minutes, you have chair post to the website. However, we are emailing agendas and minutes to Merritt Gov Docs.
Correct.
Peralta now, and you are actually the only chair who has done that so far. So thank you.
Sure.
And congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Where did I put that name? Can you help me find that? Is that up here at the top? Yeah. So I'll change that.
So can I ask a question? I don't want to be out of order here. This is great because being the Slow chair, I'm learning all these things that I'm doing wrong this morning, and you've barely started. Neem, where are we supposed to send our minutes? We post them to the website, but I'm also supposed to be submitting them somewhere else.
Yeah, we are setting up a central repository, and there is a Peralta email address dedicated to that. It is merrittgov, G-O-V, docs, D-O-C-S, at peralta.edu. And I believe that Denise Richardson did send out an announcement that included that piece. So you might want to check for that in your email.
I will. Thank you.
You know what that tells me, Neem, is that that's something for me to do as my role as chair of accreditation, because we want to make sure that people have gotten that. If I'm the only one sending it, that means people are not getting that message. So thank you. I will put that for an action plan for this week.
Yeah, so there was the email to which Denise said, stated or sent, had 2 attachments to it. And the one was the quick facts sheet that you and I worked on, as well as the calendar, which has been revised. But that quick fact sheet did identify where minutes and agendas should be sent. So maybe flag that email or save the quick facts sheet for reference for future.
Yeah, let's approve the minutes, and then I kind of have an idea for next year when we have to do this all over again. Any other amendments, changes, cancellations, new items? Anybody object to the minutes as they stand now? Object to approving of the minutes as they stand now? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. We had a new guest come in since we did introductions, and that is Glenn. Glenn, if you would just quickly tell us how long you've been in Peralta and your name, and that would be great, and what you do, what your area is.
Yeah, I'm Glenn Van Strodham. I'm here for a year at Peralta. I've worked on and off with Peralta as a business person working with Peralta with the board, and also as a coach right now at Merritt. Soccer is my passion, it's my love, but I have a 20-year career in computer science or computer related, software related installations and technology. So that's a little bit of my background. I'm very
Wonderful.
interested in what we do at Peralta for two reasons. One, with regards to the community, and with regards to helping our students. I'm very student oriented and trying to think out of the box, if you will.
Thanks, Glenn. And thanks for all, I think everyone here, if I'm wrong, don't correct me, was at the accreditation day as well. So thank you all for attending. That was very important. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is to do that slate change on the bylaws. So just give me a second. The slate change is just to make sure if more than one SLO representative comes to the meeting, that one of them is a voting member and the other one is a guest. So can somebody help me with the language there on how, I mean, it says one faculty representative from SLOAC. So is it okay the way it is, or do I need to make any changes?
You can clarify by saying one voting representative from SLOAC.
Well, that's what this is, the voting membership, Courtney, right? It's already specified. So I could add to non-voting, but if everybody is okay with the way it is, I don't need to unnecessarily make more adjustments. Does anyone feel it's necessary to do that?
No, this seems clear, at least to me. This is Laura.
Okay.
I have a question about how this would be reflected in our templates for the agendas, because we list all of the individual members. Would we just say SLOAC representative, or would we have Laura Forlin or Heather Casale, or like, or what? How would that be recorded?
Stephanie, we talked about this when we drew up. Yeah, no, well, we talked about when we drew up the bylaws initially. Do you want to talk to that?
I'm trying to get the hamster's wheels spinning here. There's been so many conversations. Just to clarify, this is an additional faculty representative in addition to the two, yes?
Correct. So that's our third, yeah.
So I'm with Laura in the sense that it's specific to me where it says one faculty representative, unless you want to say the SLOAC chair specifically. So yeah, so then I would just leave it one faculty representative from SLOAC, and SLOAC can decide who that would be, and then work with obviously the Academic Senate president to ensure that that appointment is made.
Okay, thanks. Any other, so we're okay with that? Any objections? Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Moving right along. All right, next item on the agenda is assessment. So could we get an update, Laura, on what's been happening in your neck of the woods?
Sure.
And yeah, specifically, I know you guys sent out to gather information on PLOs, and I'm curious how that's going.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're definitely making progress. Like I've been meeting with the new chairs of chemistry. I guess it's actually under biology. So Maria and I think Laura was the other chair. Anyway, I've been meeting with them, working with them to kind of come up with a plan and think about how to do their assessment. I've also met with Sun Young, who is the new chair of math. And I have to say she has done it's that department, a beautiful job. I mean, outstanding job of PLO assessment. And so one of the things that came up even this week was just that we've decided one of the things we're going to do is on the website, because Evan Nichols and I cleaned it up over the summer. But what we thought we would do in addition to having that PLO assessment template, which is just one potential way people could, do their assessment, we're going to upload some examples. So including the one from math, and I know I have some from our department and Heather as well, Heather Casale. So we thought we would upload some of that. So all of us have been communicating. We're actually seeing movement, which is fantastic. And then Neem, I know that I've forwarded on some documents. Soon Young is supposed to email me the PLO assessment that's been done, so we'll forward that to you. But have you gotten other documents? Because I think it was today was like the deadline for that information.
Correct. So for those of you who didn't know, the ICER steering committee did ask Laura and the other assessment coordinators to assist us in gathering program level assessment evidence for the report. And they were gracious enough to do that over the past 2 weeks. Today is the deadline. And so far, Laura, I've received materials from kinesiology, Landhort, nutrition and dietetics, RATSI, and student services. So
I can get mine in. I thought the deadline was the 13th. That's my bad. I can get mine in today.
Okay, fantastic.
And if we get math too, I think that'd be like, that's a great representation.
Yeah. Yeah, math, we'll definitely get math over. In fact, I'll make a note to myself. But Soon Young was, I mean, it was just, Heather and I were like, oh my gosh, I cannot even believe this. So yeah, so I feel like there's progress. I mean, the biggest challenge really around the PLO assessment is that we can't use CurricuNet, right, to document it. And while we track SLO assessment, all of us coordinators, and it's very easy to track who's done what, just because we can go into CurricuNet and we're getting prompts every time an assessment gets done. PLO assessment is so broad, and the ways in which people can accomplish that is going to be so varied that we just felt like it was too big really for us to track that. And so we thought a better way. And so actually this is the other thing that's been fantastic, is we've been able to give feedback on the APU. And Stephanie, thank you so much, because Stephanie forwarded the rubric that's going to be used when evaluating the APU, as well as some of the language within the APU related to assessment. And so we've been able to tweak that and give that feedback. And I think that's going to be really critical, because I feel like where that evidence is going to be found is going to be in the APU. So, and that makes sense, right? And it's because it's so big and broad and we don't have it all in one place, like SLO assessment, we can't really track. We can work with people. And then our other, I guess one other thing I would say is our other plan is, as soon as the APU goes out, which I think is today maybe, or maybe Monday, but as soon as that goes out, our plan is to reach out. All of us coordinators are going to reach out to department chairs and say, we're here. We know that you have this APU to start working on. We can help you with training. We can work with you around what kind of evidence you can use to document that. So, and I know there will probably be, I'm assuming there will be trainings too across campus around the APU. And so, you know, we're happy to be involved with that process too.
And I just,
please.
So in
hold on, I think Courtney, I think Arya, was it Arya? I couldn't see.
That was Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie. Okay, so Stephanie and then Courtney, please.
I just wanted to say thank you again to Laura and to Nathan and Heather for working so tirelessly on making that happen. I realized that was a very sort of last minute impromptu review, but the fact that it got done was really, I think, beneficial for us moving into this academic year. So thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you. And also Nathan for coming to the meeting yesterday, because we actually had a chance to talk through it during the meeting. And then we're able to provide, Heather took on just the inputting the revisions that were sent out last night. So yeah.
I just want to, Courtney, I want to hear from you. I just want to say how much better the APU rollout feels to me already this year from past years, and just mark that, you know, and have it in the minutes. Courtney.
Yeah, I really want to affirm how important assessment is to all of our processes. And I've gone through in the last year processes that really needed that kind of in-depth assessment that you get from the APU, and then the summative and historical that we get from our SLOAC process. In terms of making this a bit more straightforward, I want to ask both Neem and Laura if we are heading towards a position where we might be able to use an assessment module in CurriculNet, and if we have a license for that. So that was where I wanted to go.
I think I can. Are you speaking to PLO assessment, Courtney?
Yeah, in that, in order for us to use the assessment in CurriculNet, we have to have a complete set of data, how SLOs map to PLOs and PLOs to ILOs. And so I wondered, is that on the horizon as a goal, or
it isn't. It isn't, Courtney. I wish that that was a realistic goal. The problem is that every single program has been, and this has to, I won't spend too much time on it, but essentially the system was set up in such a way that we would have to go department by department and completely remap all of the mapping that had been done. We started doing it in SLOAC last year, but it was huge. And even then, we were finding, like, we tried it, Heather and I both tried it in our own departments to try to unmap what happened. Anyway, the mapping linkages were the opposite of what we had been doing historically. So we tried unmapping and remapping, and we still couldn't use those upper level tools. We tried communicating with the district, we got nowhere. We had meetings with the other campuses who were wonderful, we got nowhere. So right now, what we're saying is, look, we have CurriculNet for SLO assessment. It's working really well. SLOAC is tracking that. But for PLO and ILO assessment, we've developed this template. That's what we're using. And the other thing is too, is we don't, I feel like people, this is just one way for us to document it. In some ways, I feel like there's so many ways we can do it with PLO, for the external accreditation reports that a lot of our allied health programs have to have. It's all there, and that's going to be in their APU. So we've, so I wish I could say, yes, it's on the horizon, but it is not. And Neem, do you want to add anything with that? I mean, I'm sure Neem will also weigh in. It's very flawed.
Yeah, everything that Laura said is correct and accurate. I do want to say, though, that through the curriculum process, we have been engaging in that very tedious task of remapping everything correctly. So I do believe there are some programs now that could be tested again to see if it works, but that I'm not guaranteeing that it will work, because CurriculNet is just very problematic altogether. So it could be another issue than just mapping.
We've wondered that, Neem. You know what I'll do? I'll put this back on SLOAC's on one of our agendas, upcoming agendas, to just circle back again. And we also, through the curriculum process, Neem, as new programs are developed and they come through, because SLOAC also is part of that approval process, we are also doing that unmapping if it comes to us mapped incorrectly. But so far our experience is, even with that mapping cleanup, we still cannot use those other levels in CurriculNet.
So I am not necessarily volunteering for more work, but as my department happens to have several new programs on deck, ready to move through the process, I might be able to work with Neem and you. And in the perspective of having worked with software to collect specific instructions and requests to Peralta IT and to whoever makes CurriculNet about how to proceed with the correct mapping. And that might be a model that's, we can say, can we meet this within the next 3 years or not? So I'm already part of the curriculum committee, so it would just be really engaging with you. on
Yeah,
that.
thank you. I mean, I will just say too that we, you know, in some of my meetings with the other college Slovak folks, and also we've had even on the call some of the CurricuNet people, it really has to do with the way the CurricuNet program for Peralta was set up. And I think because it's set up like that, and for all of us users, I know like, I think it was Lainey, they were able to access those upper levels because of the way they had mapped their own programs. So it was a real problem for us, and even though we were part of that process, it's really a big problem for us. But thank you so much. We'll take you up on the help.
And in terms
oh,
of,
sorry, Courtney, go ahead.
in terms of accreditation, it's really speaking to the essential working conditions under which we collect both assessments and are able to act on them. And so just putting this plan in place of a pilot to better align assessments with our existing curriculum tool is something that really can be considered evidence for our accreditation and our self-evaluation, and also touch on the technology resources, 3C, that I'm currently deep in helping and writing.
So could I ask Laura and Courtney, if you guys meet before the next meeting, that you can report back on what you've discussed and ideas moving forward?
So how about this, Hillary, if this is okay? Because we meet, Slovak meets the day before this committee meets. So it would be, I think, more helpful, at least on our end, if Slovak can meet, if we can discuss this. We have other things on our agenda. And so this may be something, and my personal feeling is that it's much more important right now for folks to be doing this documentation in whatever capacity they are, and have that get into the APU. It has to be in the APU. And there is our evidence. And that's really what we're demonstrating through that APU process. So to me, and especially because the APU is about to be rolled out, I feel like that's where our focus needs to be, but then we could certainly shift. So, I mean, I don't know how others feel about that, but that's
no, this is completely up to you and Courtney on timing. So yeah. Why don't you guys just let me know when you've had that discussion and when you want to share ideas with this committee? Does that work?
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Yes. Great, thank you both. And Courtney, thanks for using the little hand, because I can see that. So if people have something to say and I'm not recognizing it, maybe just use the little hand up, and that way we make sure to recognize you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, thank you so much, Laura, is accreditation. And specifically, we were going to review and debrief on the accreditation day. So I'm going to start on that, and then I'll ask if others want to contribute. I actually wrote a whole bunch of reflections. Some of you have already heard from me on this. So here's kind of my reflections on accreditation day. I think we did achieve our intended goals in hours 1 and 2. I think that the community was engaged at a high level and indicated that they felt informed. Though I do want to ask you all to look at a survey that I've drafted to send out to make sure of that. And then I think we had excellent participation in the breakout hour, the hour 2, as well as in the Q&A. And there were some themes that came up repeatedly in these sessions. The Q&A was very highly engaging, although unfortunately I was not able to bring it back to accreditation. But here are the 3 major issues that I heard coming out in the Q&A session. 1, the need for improvement in responding to student needs at the beginning of the semester, specifically in the areas of enrollment, financial aid, and technology, like Canvas. 2, faculty, staff, administration, and students, there's a kind of a disconnect sometimes when it comes to understanding the processes of the college and how it sort of relates to us, and also a lack of empathy between different areas sometimes. And then 3, this is not the official wording, but Merritt College really sucks at internal and external communication, and we need to get on top of that in terms of how we communicate with students and with each other and getting information out there so people can see it. So those were the areas that I saw coming out. I'll wait to show you my survey until I give a chance to other people to speak. So I don't know if Denise or Neem or Stephanie, you have some more that you'd like to say.
I would just like to share, and Hillary, you've heard this already. We took very seriously, the feedback, particularly that you provided about Accreditation Day. And in terms of the third part of the day, we thought that establishing regular listening and solution-focused sessions is something that we are going to implement in the future. And it's really important that meetings that are focused, like this meeting, not be derailed to address other things. Not that those things aren't important, because they actually are, but we need a specific time and place for those kind of discussions to happen. And so you can be on the lookout for dates for listening and solution-focused settings per Hillary's great recommendation. And we plan to do that maybe once a month.
Great. Neem or Stephanie, do you have anything else to add? Or Dan?
I will just say that, and this also speaks to something that Neem indicated at our ICER meeting, was just being aware that all our conversations are somehow linked, right, to accreditation. And if this committee is the one that sort of shadows our abilities to follow said standards, that conversations to which we're having, especially more specifically related to standards, we need to train our brains to connect, right, whatever our discussions are to those topics, to those standards, right? And I believe Nathan kind of made the joke the day where it says, how many standards are there? And most were saying 4, and he came out with 127. Like, if anyone was paying attention to the chat, right? There are actually quite a few standards to which we have to adhere to. So it's just very important that we start thinking in terms of, or in line with, so that we make that connection and that it's present in those conversations or in that written sort of component.
And opening it up to everybody, because I know all of you, or most of you were there. Does anyone else have any feedback on Accreditation Day?
I just want to say that I don't think that, I wouldn't characterize the third hour as being, having failed in anything, because I think that all of the concerns that were raised do relate to various of the accreditation standards, so and part of the day was to gather information about what we need to improve and what we need to document in order to say that we meet all of the standards. And if there's somebody who's there at the meeting says, well, it appears to me we aren't meeting these specific standards related to student services, then we should fix that, and then we can document that we fixed that, and then that makes it a successful day.
Anybody else? Thanks, Dan. One thing, I'll just let you guys know that I've already consulted with Michael, the president of the ASMC, and I'm going to go to one of their ASMC meetings and also just do a listening session. I did that actually before we even talked, Denise, because I think it's important as the accreditation committee to be present and listening to these issues as they come up, and then we can bring it back. So are you good? Yeah, please, Courtney. Yeah.
I think it was very effective in that, as constituents that support accreditation were able to gain awareness of the different efforts going on and how they're linked, without having to go in and do that work in order to get that. And so it's really important to give almost like a meta level awareness of the different parts that are moving, so that we recognize if one of them falls into our areas, where it all fits, and distinguish between pointless work that no one is ever going to use, and things that actually make things better for our students and our community.
Thanks, Courtney. Neem, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I actually wasn't going to comment on Accreditation Day because I think I said my piece already that day. But I do have a totally different topic that I want to address about, it's essentially about FAS and communication and how the process that has been set up in this place is not working. And I don't want to derail your agenda. So if you have time to discuss that, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, the communication piece is actually, if we have time to do it today, that's fine. I would like to actually brainstorm on that at our next meeting because there's a lot of areas of communication we need to improve on. And I have some ideas, but I'd like to get your feedback. Is there anybody else with a hand up? Because initially it said 2 people, but I only see names.
I had put my hand up, but then I put it down just because I think I said my piece. But I do have some ideas for you moving into some future meetings, so we'll chat offline.
Great. Okay, I'm going to share with you the survey that I put together, and it's a draft, so please don't be afraid to give your feedback and ideas. So I think one thing that we do is we have these days and then we don't get feedback from people on what worked and what was effective and how they were engaged. And I think we can capture this now. We've got all the names of the participants. We can see what was effective and how people want to follow up. So I'll just kind of read each question and then I'd love your feedback. If there, I only have 6 questions, so we can get up to 10 for free on SurveyMonkey. So number 1, what part of the day did you attend? And you can put some or all. After attending Accreditation Day, do you have a better understanding of the accreditation process? Which of the topics covered during Accreditation Day did you find most engaging? During Accreditation Day discussion, several issues came to the forefront that deserve more attention. Would you be interested in participating in a listening session dedicated to any of the following topics? And then 5, please indicate if you would be willing to engage in a, and I can change the wording here, Denise, to solution focused. I just had it as moving forward innovations brainstorming session to address the following topics. And then please indicate your primary role at Merritt College. So that's what I had. I would love to hear feedback. We're all recording, so I can put it in later. I don't see any hands. Oh, Dan, thank you.
I would recommend in the very first item, it looked like you had to, the user would have to choose only one of those. But if you could allow them to choose multiple, they could indicate whether they attended the first 2 hours and the second 2 hours.
I had an other space there, so they could say first hour, second hour, third hour, most or all, and then other, so they can specify. Otherwise, we're going to have 20 answers. Yeah. Yeah, but thank you.
And then also in the multiple choice question about listening sessions.
Yes.
I think in the very first choice, you said, respond to student needs, and you had listed a bunch of student needs. But then there was a qualifier at the beginning of the semester, but I think I don't think you need that qualifier. I think that's probably going to be an issue throughout the semester.
Oh, got it. Okay, so just have responding to student needs.
And then include that list. I think it's good. But yeah, without the at the beginning of the semester.
Okay, great. Stephanie, you have your hand up?
Yeah, this just dawned on me. But would it be helpful to ask the question kind of like the Professional Development Committee does with sort of future engagements of this type of activity? By posing the question of, do you feel that more of these would be beneficial, right? Just so that we can kind of gauge how willing folks would be to continue this type of activity. Because if we are trying to sort of promote the whole idea of accreditation every day or everyday accreditation, like it would be, I think, beneficial to kind of gauge where we are with folks on that.
I was having, thank you. That was going to be my question 7, but I was having trouble with wording. as to, what areas of accreditation would you like to hear more about? Would it be helpful to have a workshop? So if anybody has wording, you don't have to say it now. If somebody knows exactly how they would word it, let me know, but you could also email me or put it in the chat. And it says 2 more people have their hand up. Sorry, it's hard for me to see. Marie.
Oh yeah, thanks. I was actually just thinking, I'm wondering if, and you can let me know if that wasn't the intention of this particular survey, but I'm wondering if it would make sense to offer a space for those who, because I'm concerned about the voices that were not at accreditation at the day, or that don't come to these meetings. Like primarily a lot of our classified staff are very solutions focused. Many of them already may be implementing some solutions at a smaller scale to some of these issues. And I'm wondering if it would make sense to just, rather than ask them to, since they're, we're all very overloaded already, to see if they had time to, if we just built out a space, if there's a way to build a space for any solutions that they may have or may already be implementing, just as a means of capturing that, in a survey, in the event that they don't make it to a meeting or they don't speak up and share it in a meeting. I'm just kind of mindful of the voices that are not heard.
Yeah, no, I think that's excellent. I think, for this survey, Marie, my intention was to get feedback quickly before memories start to go. But I think separately, we certainly, and I think that's the purpose of the listening sessions and the solution sessions. And I'm not quite sure, how to do that, but I would love to talk to you about it. And yeah, okay, thank you. The thumbs up. We'll figure out a way to do that, because I do want to get feedback on whether it was effective for people and they felt engaged. Okay, Dan has a hand up, and Denise. Dan, did you have something?
Sorry, no, that I didn't lower my hand from before.
Okay.
Now it's down.
Denise?
I think, am I on mute? No, I think it would be also valuable to find out what people wish we had covered, just as kind of an educational resource for us to kind of look to for future engagement.
Yeah, again, I was having trouble with the wording of that in terms of, I was maybe going to just leave an open-ended question. What questions do you have that you'd like us to cover in future workshops? Something like that. Would that satisfy it? Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. I'm just looking to see if anybody else has a hand up. I don't see any. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate your valuable feedback. I really do. Okay. Anything else that people want to bring up around accreditation while we're in that section, not just in terms of Accreditation Day, but is there anything else I'm missing that we need to essentially talk about today before we move on? Okay, great. The next item on our agenda is old business. And we were going to get a report back on any changes that had been made since we talked last time about enrollment and student registration and the issues that were happening with that process. I don't think Lilia is here. Is there anyone that can?
I am on.
Oh, you're the iPhone. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, great. Lilia, do you want to talk to any changes that have been made, or anything that you've encountered, since we met last time?
Well, I mean, we do have an overload. It is different doing things remotely. I know people don't want to hear that we are kind of short-staffed. We talked about, there's like 1,000 students per person. It is impacting counseling, A&R, financial aid. And we have, during the peak, they did use the link to be active on Zoom. And we extended the hours so more students can get served via Zoom. But that's all we've done as of now. But, CCC Apply is impacting us. the access to their student IDs, the response time, the reset, all plays a major part in everything we do with access. And we did bring it up to our academic affairs vice chancellor, and we were going to be having a discussion as vice presidents to see where we can improve and what support systems are available.
Did you get a sense, Lilia, meeting with the other vice chancellors, that people are in the same boat, or are there best practices that we could be moving towards?
I think most people feel like we're in the same boat, but there are some specific things that they're doing to onboard, like like the Buentistas are doing special kind of language appropriate check-ins, and then also like Sankofa. So it's that high touch. We need more staff to support that. And I know, like, even with Sankofa, they just hired a student support worker to help with the questions and information that is requested of them.
So maybe Denise or Lilia, what's the action plan moving forward so that we can have some solutions ready for next semester or even for late start classes?
Oh, we have a student council meeting for the division to strategize collectively. So it's not a decision that comes just from me, but that it incorporates the voices of the classified staff that are in the front line. So if you give me that opportunity to be able to meet with them first, and then we can come up and strategize collectively.
Oh yeah, no, that's part of the action plan. I assume, Denise, there's more to that.
Yes, the deans and I will also be meeting about how we can improve rollout of late start. We've had a number of challenges with it this semester, so we're taking note of those and using those as a springboard for discussions of how we can do things differently.
Okay, and I was going to say that I'm happy to research what other community colleges are doing to, it's hard to just start from scratch, right? There has to be a best practices out there. So I'm happy to do some research and see if we can find some of that. Courtney?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I really hear the need for resources, and it seems to echo what we have in our other constituencies that hire classified and faculty. And one of the things that helps everybody remain informed about the need at the college is the process of prioritization of hires from each constituency, where I know we do it in the department chairs around faculty. There is a classified senate and their prioritization. But what seems to be missing and has fallen off the radar is the administrative process, where we would be aware of some of the needs going on in student services and aware of the resources that are committed. Just as in faculty prioritization, we relate our request to our productivity, the number of students served, to a whole bunch of things that are supported by APU as well as the BI. And so I'm saying we really need to get visibility as a co-constituency into the needs in the administrative and especially the student services area. So as your peers, we need to know so that when all these request to hire prioritizations are put into one area, we have visibility into student needs that are that need to be met. So I'm hoping that beginning with this APU, we can begin including that information as part of our overall prioritization to hire as a college and campus.
Thank you, Courtney. To echo what you're saying, one of the big things that I've been trying to figure out how to implement a system that collects data on the high touch, because most of our data has head count and it doesn't really give us a clear picture of the students' needs when it comes to that high touch. Some students will come to an area with 4 questions and requiring quite a bit of time to support them in accessing, classes or being on our campus. So that has been something that I've been working on, but I do feel like this is something that the whole college needs to look at in the sense of the high touch.
And I think this also brings something back that I had forgotten about. We talked about also on Accreditation Day, which is when we're filling out our APUs for our programs, sometimes I'm putting in, hey, I want more mental health for my students' services, or I want, better technology responses for my students. And those just don't get counted, right, when I'm putting them in my communication program. And so the idea of sending those to the appropriate parties. And so one suggestion was for Michael, the ASMC president, to send, right, these instances that came up, so you have that as evidence. But also, as faculty members or as classified staff, when we're hearing these different areas and administrators come up, to send it to the appropriate party so that it can be used as evidence in your APUs. Does anyone else have anything to say on that?
I just wanted to say that one thing that I also think is going to be important, particularly in terms of accreditation and tracking things moving forward, is the equity piece in terms of how have our students fared. Of course, we have last spring to look at to some degree, but I think this fall is really going to provide us with a lot of really important data of how we can adjust ourselves as necessary moving forward to continue our equity work of closing the gap in terms of the many disparities that we see among our DI population.
I think that's really important, and specifically when we're talking about even just students getting enrolled and registered and accessing financial aid, right? So this is all part of that same discussion. Who are the students that are getting left behind and not able to participate or not able to use the technology because they're not getting responses? Anyone else?
One thought about what Lillian had mentioned in a discussion, continuation of the discussion we had at Technology Committee yesterday, and that is with the chat apps in place on the website, that is potentially a source of data that we could use to track those student and service interactions. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to have a large brainstorming session, right? I think that's excellent. That's one form. I think the forms, Lilia, that you made for people to correct issues on the web, I mean, there could be forms like that for students, right? To say, hey, here's an issue that came up when I tried to register. There's all kinds of ideas we could brainstorm, but it feels like we need to have a larger session with a larger audience and more time. And so maybe Lilia, about that. I know you are hugely impacted right now, but I would let you lead the way on when and who, but I think it's an important discussion that we should have. Are you there, Lilia? She's probably helping a student right now. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes. I think this requires a more broad campus-wide conversation, because everything, it comes down to the student completing their whole enrollment and also having access to Canvas. It starts from the CCC Apply and it ends with Canvas in order for them to be really successfully enrolled. And there's issues in all aspects of enrollment. And I think it's really our business as a team to really support that process and make it more seamless.
Completely agree. So Lilia, maybe you and I can just, I'll send you an email and then we can start to think about how to move forward on that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right.
Lori, can I add something? This is
please, Neem.
So I think the discussions we've been having, like at our previous meeting of this committee, and then at Accreditation Day, and now right now, it brings to light a lot of challenges within students entering the path. Pillar 1 of guided pathways, you know, of enrolling, matriculating, getting oriented, getting counseling, and getting that initial support they need to start really learning at Merritt. And I don't want to downplay the importance of that and the significance of that. And I also don't want to downplay that we do have serious staffing issues in those areas, as well as technological issues. But I also want to urge people to keep in mind that that's just the very first pillar of guided pathways. We cannot lose sight of that. We need to make sure that the students make it all the way through to a certificate or a degree or transfer or a well-paying job. I think sometimes we get so focused on that one area just because it's the most apparently broken to us, you know, but we have to do more than just provide access to students. That's what we've been doing for decades and decades, and they're still not succeeding. So we need to, of course, we need to address that, but we need to move beyond that as well.
Thank you. That's an important point. Dan, you have your hand up, and we'll make this the last comment on this issue.
Yeah, it's sort of echoing what Neem was just saying. It's like, I think it's good to do listening sessions to find out what other issues like might come up when people are given the opportunity to raise them. But we just had a listening session, you know, at the Accreditation Day where we heard some issues that came up. So I think that like it'd be really important, I think, for the students to know that like that the administration is working on solutions to those problems that have already been identified, rather than just saying, oh, you can come talk to us some more about the thing that you already told us. You know, we'll schedule some dates for you in October to talk about, like, we should be actually trying to solve these problems. Because what Neem was just saying is like, we can't just like let everybody in, give access to everybody, and then when they get here, there's no services because, oh gosh, we didn't realize that we were going to have to service you with 3 people. You know, if we only have 3 people, then maybe we shouldn't have thousands of students, or we need to figure out how to like service all the students that we're bringing in.
Yeah, so I think that's why the president was going to set up listening sessions and solution sessions. The listening sessions to make sure we didn't miss anything, right? Because there's probably more areas and we don't want to miss anything on that. And then I agree, Dan, completely that the solutions, and we can't just talk about it, we have to actually implement, right? And that's the hard part. So yeah, Denise, did you want to say something? Okay, I just saw you come back on the screen and I didn't know if that was indicative of wanting to speak. All right.
That was me just wanting to express agreement.
Okay, great. Okay, the next part of the agenda was new business, or is new business. And one of the issues that has been coming up repeatedly is that participatory governance bodies are not following the suggested, well, the Brown Act rules of getting agendas out 72 hours before and then posting. Part of that I'm hearing is, you know, there's a lot of information that we've been sending out in the first month, and it sounds like not everybody has been able to kind of capture that and then use it. And I'm also thinking, as part of the accreditation committee, that we do workshops in the future for anybody who is going to join a committee or thinking about joining a committee, or certainly going to chair a committee, so that they have an opportunity to get an orientation to what the important essential pieces of that are, and that we can hand out, you know, all the important information to people in that way. Stephanie, I want to just hand it to you because I know you've been monitoring this more closely than I have.
Part of another hiccup that I believe that we've been challenged with is the inability to send things FAS, right? And having only certain individuals designated to do so. And so those communications go through those parties and then are sent out to FAS to indicate that these meetings are happening. And so those emails don't always get caught, right, in time. Or, you know, you're relying on one party who already has a plethora of emails just constantly entering their inbox. So I don't know if we can brainstorm a way that communications such as those can be sent to a particular party or email address, etc., to ensure that it goes FAS within that sort of 72-hour time frame, if folks are abiding by that. Because it is certainly helpful to know that those meetings are happening, especially if it didn't make it to one's calendar and one wants to be a part of it. So I think it is important to know that. And I know one of the other mechanisms to which we've been working on is getting the information plugged into Planner that can be linked to Outlook calendars, and making sure that folks just have those on their calendar moving into the future. So that's another way to which I think we can kind of help maximize the announcements that these meetings are happening. But it's also just understanding that these schedules have been identified, and to stray from those schedules or to arbitrarily choose a different date to meet because of some hiccup is very disruptive to the flow of what needs to take place as far as college business. So just being mindful that, you know, when those calendars are published, I understand that there are emergencies, but if there is anything that we can do to assist in facilitating those meetings on those days and times to which have already been specified, just adhering to that as best as possible.
Thank you, Stephanie. Laura, Dan, and Neem. So Laura, we'll start with you. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. I love the idea of this group doing some of that training, because like I alluded to at the beginning of the meeting, I'm like, I'm not doing things that I should be doing, clearly. And so I would really appreciate that training, just to ensure that I'm sort of following what the college protocols are as a chair. And I know, like, I've been the chair of SLOAC for a couple of years, and I've never received that training. I'm the co-chair of CDCPD, and I have not received that training. So I think that I would do a much better job if I had that training. So thank you. I love that that's a possibility.
Okay, great. Thanks, Laura. Dan?
Thanks. I just want to point out that the Brown Act actually requires something much stronger than that 72 hours notice is given internally within the campus community, but it actually requires that notice is given to the overall, you know, the actual campus community, you know, the outside, you know, like internal and external to the campus, because, you know, like we're supposed to give opportunities for public comment and things like that. And so while having better email like within the campus is a good idea to inform everybody in the campus when meetings are, that's not going to satisfy the Brown Act. The Brown Act would require that those meeting notices be posted on the web or someplace publicly that everyone in the area can access within that time frame before the meeting.
Thanks, Dan. Neem?
Yeah, I want to address this issue from the standpoint of a committee chair who actually does send out his agenda, you know, and tries to inform at least our internal campus community of what's going on with the committee. And it's already a challenge for us as committee chairs to get these agendas out 72 hours in advance. You know, some committees, all they do is discuss issues. The curriculum committee, it actually works and it approves curriculum and it acts on things. And I can't just send out an agenda with empty words. I have to have a list of proposals, courses and programs that have been reviewed or that are going to be voted on. I need time to produce that. And then to put on top of that, that delay of a day or two while it sits in the president's office waiting to get sent out from Merritt announcement to FAS, that's not a viable solution. You know, and I hope that the administrators really recognize that and advocate for something else, because in my opinion, it's stifling communication. It is, and it's really irresponsible.
So Neem, are you suggesting that the administrators should be talking to the district, right? It was a district level decision about changing that decision?
Yeah, we didn't implement it, the former chancellor did. So it sounds to me like it requires some district action.
May I say something?
Please.
Neem, are you suggesting that everyone have access, or are you perhaps suggesting that people who have responsibility of making these announcements have or have access?
That, again, that's not my decision. You know, if I had it my way, we would just go back to having, you know, a free means of communication campus-wide. But if that's not what is feasible at this point, then yes, then maybe we go for that alternative solution of giving access to committee chairs who actually do need to communicate with the entire college community.
Okay. Thank you. I'll certainly take that back and share it with the other administrators.
Stephanie, is your hand up?
Yes, I just also want to say quickly that Tashetta mentioned in the use of Planner that we can attach agendas and minutes to those meetings. So that might be an alternative until we're able to resolve our communication issues, but that is one sort of suggested way. But again, folks are not very familiar with Planner, etc. So, I mean, clearly there needs to be more discussion around a mechanism to which can help enhance this ability.
And this does come down to the communication efforts again. I just want to say we really need to work, and this is another area of, it's related to accreditation directly, of being able to communicate both with students internally and externally with the community. So it is important that we have some solutions on this as well. Thanks, Arya. Okay, last couple things. So just briefly, I've been waiting on ordering the accreditation everyday t-shirts because I need everybody's sizes. So you're going to get an email if you're on this committee or if you have been participating in accreditation in a significant way from me. Just so you know, they're really nice shirts. So like if you normally, like if you're like me, like I like ordering a large and having it be roomy, for these shirts you can actually get a medium and it's really roomy and nice. So you can actually get it the correct size for you. But I will send out that email, so respond promptly so we can get ordered. We'd love to have them, especially when the visiting team comes in. It'd be very nice. And then announcements. Give me one moment. The Fall Planning Summit has now been extended, so it's not going to be a full day on September 18th. It's going to be 2 half days. So it will be the afternoon 12:30 to 4 on September 18th, correct, Stephanie? And then again on September 25th, which is our meeting day. It was initially scheduled for 12:30. I asked that it be moved to 1 to 4:30. So for this group, we'll have a shorter meeting that day. We'll meet from 12 to 1. Is that a yay or a boo?
And actually, can I just say something? If Nathan is on the line, that is one of the emails to which I neglected to send, which was moving that time up from 12:30 to 1 o'clock on the 25th. To accommodate for the Accreditation Committee to meet from at least 12 to 1. So getting feedback from the committee, because I know that Stephanie DeVito specifically mentioned that, you know, sometimes having meetings run till 4:30 can seem rather daunting, especially on a Friday. But, you know, knowing that we have other college business we have to engage in, that it would be helpful to move it up that half hour from 1 to 4:30 and still allow for that 3.5 hours. So if Nathan, you and I can work on just getting a consensus from those that have been involved in the planning summit to move it to that time, so that we can also make an announcement to the community that that change has occurred, because most of the communication has been that it's on the 18th and solely on the 18th.
Well,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nathan.
Oh, so we don't have a correction to make for, at least for the 12:30 time, because I have not sent out an announcement of the new times. So, and I think there's already people on several people on this call who would be willing to consent to that. I mean, of course, I'm completely open to that. So,
could I suggest that a communication go out today with some details about the agenda so that people can plan ahead, because the first part of that fall summit is a week from today. And if people know what the 2 days encompass, then they can kind of plan ahead to which parts of it. If they can't make all of it, at least they can go to the parts that most concern them and get it on their schedules before they make other meetings.
Yeah, that's good. I will do that.
And I'm happy to work with you on that if need be, Nathan.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I'll follow up.
I know the APU template is also a very pressing matter right now.
Yes.
So.
Multitasking.
And that was the last part of the meeting, was to just document that the APU template is being rolled out. Did we say Tuesday, Denise, or is that today?
The APU template will be rolled out today. Yes, Nathan?
That is my hope. I'm still on track. I want to touch base with Dr. Chavez one more time about whether it is appropriate for the for the non-instructional areas. Mm-hmm. I think what I'm trying to finesse this afternoon is to have a split 2 forms of the template, one for instructional, one for non-instructional, so you don't have that extra 5 pages or so in the non-instructional areas. And with that should be it. Then I would be ready to produce the templates. My plan to make it easier to collect the data and manage the documents is to put them all on a SharePoint and then make the link available. So then we can have it there in a central repository.
And with the rollout of the APU template, I'm hoping that there will also be information about workshops, so people know that they can get help.
So yes, we will certainly get we had promised to get the template out today. So I'm hoping we'll be able to move forward with that. And Nathan, thank you so much. I know this is a big task, because we're also trying to be sensitive to all of the additions or the edits that we've received. And I want to, again, I came in kind of late on the meeting, but I want to thank those who provided that really valuable input to make the template better. We are planning for Tuesday or Wednesday to send out schedules for trainings, and also to send out the validation forms and the rubrics that will be associated with the template. So, and Nathan, you and I will work more on that together between now and then.
Yes. Great. So I'll state that when it goes out.
Go ahead, Nathan.
No, I'll save it, because I think that's a conversation with Denise. I'll ask her.
Okay.
To clarify.
Okay, and we're almost there. So I just want to say, I want to thank everybody again. Part of your participation on this committee is not just attending and participating here, but also bringing this information out to the communities with which you serve on campus. So just asking that you keep the people that you have contact with informed of what we're discussing, and that as you get questions or feedback, to please get it back to me so that we can make sure to be responsive.
Can I jump in real quick? I have a question about the APU comment. So Nathan, I think it's a great idea, by the way, to have the APUs in a Word file on SharePoint so that you can edit that cloud version. And I think most people are comfortable with that, but I know that there are faculty members who are not, because when I sent out your link to the draft APU to the Academic Senate, there was at least one person who said, I can't open this, and I had to I had to download the Word file myself and send her as an attachment. So just be aware that there might be some people who need some accommodations.
Yeah, I'm expecting
very
that.
Specific directions.
Yeah. I'm expecting that, and my contact information is on there to follow up with me if there's any questions or issues, and also the deans need support. So.
If there's a way to send very specific directions on how to download and edit it's gonna help you a lot in terms of not having to respond to 90
Right.
people. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else before we call the meeting to an end? All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you in 2 weeks for a shorter meeting. Appreciate it. Thank you. I like having these two smiling faces on my screen. Hi, Doria. Hi, Denise. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Hillary. You too. Have a good weekend.
Hey, Doria.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if you got my email regarding, and let me hit record. Stop recording.